Hello students, welcome back to another online lecture of the online lecture series initiated by Shet Vidya Mandir, English High School and Junior College of Science and Commerce, Vasai. I am Mrs. Snehal Falkau. Students, today we are going to study a chapter from section 4 drama of your English course book, and the name of the novel that we are going to study is Around the World in 80 Days, written by Jules Verne. Let us learn more about the writer Jules Gabriel Verne. Jules Gabriel Verne was a French novelist, poet, and a playwright. He has sometimes been called the father of science fiction. His father intended him to follow his footsteps as an attorney, and hence his father sent him to Paris to study law. But he fell in love with literature, especially theatre. He wrote several plays. He worked as a secretary of the Theatre Lyric from 1852 to 1854 and also published short stories and scientific essays. In 1857, he married and for several years worked as a broker at the Paris stock market. During this period, he continued to write, to do research at the National Library, and to dream of a new kind of novel, the one that would combine scientific fact with adventure fiction. In September 1862, he met Hetzel, who agreed to publish the first of his voyages extraordinaries, means extraordinary journeys. This was published in French, whose English meaning is 5 weeks in a balloon. The novel became an international bestseller, and Hetzel offered Verne a long-term contract to produce many more works of science fiction. Verne subsequently quit his job at the stock market to become a full-time writer. He is generally considered a major literary author in France and most of Europe. He has also been the second most translated author in the world. He wrote widely popular series of adventure novels including Journey to the Center of the Earth, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and Around the World in 80 Days, which was published in the year 1873. Now, let us look at the theme of the novel Around the World in 80 Days. Theme means the subject or the central idea of a piece of writing. The novel is full of adventure and excitement. Phileas Fogg, the major character in the novel, accepts the challenge to go around the world in 80 days, and in accomplishing this feat, he goes through various lands and meets with diverse adventures. Thus, the novel proceeds at a fast pace, and there is always some excitement resulting from the various encounters. The beauty of the novel is that the writer takes the readers to a journey of many hair-raising incidents and exciting, adventurous, thrilling yet beautiful places in the world. The theme of the novel is simple and clear. There is a lot of adventure in the novel. Also, the novel is full of excitement which the readers come across and enjoy from the very beginning to the end. Fogg is the protagonist or the major character in the novel. He accepts a challenge or a bet to go around the world in only 80 days. To accomplish or complete this feat means this notable achievement, he sails through various lands and countries and comes across diverse or different adventures. Therefore, the novel moves at a fast pace or speed. We come across some kind of excitement always, which is the result of the various encounters or meetings that he experiences. The true beauty of this novel is that the writer takes his readers on a journey of many hair-raising, means extremely frightening or alarming incidents. He takes his readers on a journey of exciting, adventurous, thrilling yet beautiful places in the world. The most important feature of this novel is time. It illustrates repeatedly that time is fickle and either works for or against them. In many cases, time foils their plans when the delays build up and ships and trains leave without them, that sometimes land the characters in trouble. In the end, Fogg wins the bet as he gained a day when crossing the international date line. The ultimate message is that no one can control time. Time will work the way it wants to work, and humans are at its mercy. Time proves to be the most important feature of this adventurous novel. Time and again, the novel illustrates, means provides examples that time is fickle, means changing constantly, or it is unstable. In the novel, we see time, which is the most important feature, either works for or against the characters. In many situations, time foils, means it hinders their plans. Example, there is delay in their plans or they miss their ships and trains that they were supposed to be on. All this makes the characters end up in some kind of trouble. At the end of the novel, we see Fogg, who is the main character, wins the bet as he earns an extra day as they are in different time zones as they cross the international date line. The ultimate or the final message that we learn from this novel is that no man can control time. Time waits for no one. Time will work the way it wants to work, and humans are at its mercy. Means humans are dependent on time and humans are helpless when time passes out of their hands and they cannot do anything to control time. Before his journey around the world, Fogg lived a solitary life. He closed himself off to others and cared little about the way he was perceived by other people. By the end of the trip, though he recognizes the importance of human connections, both in the form of love with order and friendship and loyalty with Passepartout. Above all, this new understanding and appreciation is the greatest thing he has gained from his trip. Before his journey around the world, Fogg lived a solitary, that is, a lonely life. He closed himself off to others, means he did not interact much with other people and remained aloof from people. He cared little about the way he was perceived by other people, means he did not bother or pay heed to what other people thought about him or his lonely behavior. However, we see that by the end of the trip, he recognizes that human connections are important. He learns about the significance of human connections in two forms. One in the form of love with order, and one in the form of friendship and loyalty with Passepartout. We see that as his trip of the world ends, this new understanding and appreciation of the importance of human connections is the greatest thing he has learned from this trip. Though he has the opportunity to double his fortune, Fogg's motivation to embark on such a crazy adventure has little to do with money. Instead, he wants to preserve his honor and prove his worth to the men of the Reform Club, to show that he can do what he sets out to do. Fogg spends nearly all of his money along the way, showing that riches are not what he is truly out for. For Fields Fogg, honor is more important than money. We see in the novel that Fogg has the golden chance or opportunity to double his fortune or wealth. But Fogg intends and is motivated to undertake such a crazy and unusual adventure. It has little to do with money, means he does not embark upon this trip of the world with the intention of earning money, but instead he wants to preserve his honor and self-respect. He wants to prove his worth or value to the men of the club that he is a part of. The name of the club that he is a part of is the Reform Club in England. He wants to show to the men of that club that once he decides to do something and once he sets out to do it, there is no turning back. He wants to prove his determination to them. Along the trip, Fogg spends nearly all of his money. This shows that riches or money or wealth is not something that he is truly out for on this trip. For him, honor is more important and valuable than money. Throughout the entire trip, Fogg and his group encounters various obstacles standing in their way. These challenges allow them to use their quick thinking to come up with innovative solutions to even the most complicated of problems, relaying the message that no problem is unsolvable. It is not only Fogg who shows his clever wit in coming up with solutions. Passepartout too shows his ingenuity in multiple situations. Throughout the entire trip of the world, Fogg and his group encounters or comes across many obstacles or barriers or difficulties in their way. However, these challenges do not bog them down. In fact, because of these obstacles, they start using their thinking process in order to think of innovative or new solutions to solve even the most complicated and difficult of problems. By doing this, they are relaying or passing along the message to the readers that no problem is unsolvable, means all the problems can be solved. Not only does Fogg show his clever wit or intelligence in thinking of solutions to the problems, but we even see that Passepartout shows his ingenuity, means the power of creative imagination in multiple, means many situations. Now, let us look at the plot of the novel. Plot means the main events that take place in the novel. Around the World in 80 Days begins at the Reform Club in England with Phileas Fogg, Thomas Flanagan, Samuel Fallotin, and John Sullivan sitting by a fireplace reading newspapers. We are introduced to Fogg, who is a very precise man who regularly goes to the Reform Club every evening. At the Reform Club, Fogg, Flanagan, Fallotin, and Sullivan are talking about a recent bank robbery. This conversation leads to a wager. Fogg is quite sure that he can travel around the world in 80 days, while Sullivan does not believe it can be done. Sullivan, Flanagan, and Fallotin think Fogg is not considering the unexpected. All of the men accept the wager for £20,000. The novel Around the World in 80 Days begins at a club in England. The name of the club is the Reform Club. Phileas Fogg, Thomas Flanagan, Samuel Fallotin, and John Sullivan are sitting near a fireplace. They are reading newspapers. The author introduces us to the protagonist or the main character of the novel, who is Phileas Fogg. Fogg is a very precise, means a sharp man. He is a regular member at the Reform Club every evening. We see that at the Reform Club, Fogg, Flanagan, Fallentin and Sullivan are discussing about a bank robbery that has taken place recently in England. This conversation about the bank robbery takes a different turn and leads to a wager or a bet. To complete the bet, Fogg is quite certain that he will be able to travel around the world in only 80 days. Another member of the club, Sullivan, does not believe that it is possible to travel the world in just 80 days. Sullivan, Flanagan and Fallentin think that Fogg is just not being practical and he is not considering the unexpected, means something that is about to happen unexpectedly. All of these men at the Reform Club accept the wager or the bet for £20,000. This is the beginning of the entire plot, and from then on we see how Fogg goes around the world and we witness the amazing adventures that he has with his companions. The main plot is based on Fogg's travels, while other such plots merely support the central theme. Fix, the detective, follows Fogg all over. He believes that Fogg is a bank robber who has robbed a great sum from the Bank of England. He puts obstacles in Fogg's path just so that he can arrest him whenever he gets the warrant from England. The suspicion that Fogg might be a clever gentleman robber is the sub-theme of the book, and the author makes the reader also suspicious. Passepartout too wonders whether his master might be a robber, though in his heart he has ample trust in Fogg's integrity. This is from where the entire plot begins. From here on we see the adventurous journey Fogg embarks upon. He goes around the world and we experience along with him the amazing adventures that he comes across with his companions. The main plot is Fogg's travels. There are other subplots, but those merely support the central theme. There is a subplot where we see a detective named Fix. Fix firmly believes that Fogg is a bank robber who has robbed a huge amount of money from the Bank of England. So, Fix follows Fogg all over on his trip. He puts obstacles or barriers in Fogg's path. He does this so that he can arrest Fogg once he gets the arrest warrant from England. The sub-theme of the book is the suspicion or the doubt that Fix has that Fogg might actually be a clever gentleman robber. The author makes the readers also suspicious of Fogg. While reading the novel, the readers too have a doubt that Fogg might actually be the robber. Passepartout also at times wonders whether his master Fogg might be a robber. But deep down in his heart, he has ample, means a lot of trust in Fogg's integrity, means his moral soundness or his honesty and virtuousness. The plot moves ahead with Fogg striving through various obstacles to reach London in time. He goes through the Brindisi, Suez, Bombay, Calcutta, Hong Kong, Yokohama, San Francisco, New York, and finally Liverpool. Fix arrests Fogg at Liverpool and this delays Fogg a bit. He thinks that he has missed the deadline and hasn't reached London in time, when in reality he reached a full day earlier. Thus, Fogg wins the wager and in the course of his travels finds himself a worthy, charming and a beautiful wife too. The plot moves ahead as we see Fogg trying his best to overcome all the obstacles in his way to be on time to reach the final destination, that is London. He travels through Brindisi, the Suez, to Bombay, which is now Mumbai, to Calcutta, now Kolkata, then to Hong Kong, to Yokohama, to San Francisco, and then New York, and finally reaches Liverpool. Fix, the detective who has been following Fogg, arrests him at Liverpool, and due to this, Fogg gets a bit late in reaching his final destination, which is the city of London. When he reaches London, he thinks that he has missed the deadline of reaching London in 80 days and he hasn't reached the final destination in time. But in reality, he has reached one full day earlier. Thus, Fogg wins the bet. In the course of his journey, Fogg finds himself a worthy, charming, and a beautiful wife, Oda. This is all from today's video. Thank you.